All right, looks like we are live. Welcome everybody to the weekly roundup for July 26th, 2024. Wow. Wow, it's already the end of July. I can't believe it. The coaches, we were talking about some things before we went live, and one is, what's coming up on my calls is my clients are getting ready for fall already, and having a clear, yeah, it's time. So having a clear idea of like at least the very big events that you want to do in the next 6 to 8 months. If you don't have that already, it actually can be really freeing and energizing. That's what I noticed on the call with this client. It was like very clear what we wanted to do in the next 6 months. And so if I can go through maybe some her ideas and that might help you guys too. But yeah, we like her anniversary actually is in August. So she's already planning for that and already has a big potluck and, a very community oriented feel going on, sale on an annual, that kind of stuff happening. But beyond that, we wanted to be ready for, the next wave coming in. And she's going to do a Share the Love weekly free week of yoga in September to sort of build on that, because she did an open house in April. So we're a little later doing that. So we wanted to space this out a little bit. So she's going to do Share the Love week of free yoga in September, a challenge in October. So we get those people in and then we wow them with this challenge. And then moving into the holidays with sales and all that good stuff, and then looking ahead to do an open house in January, maybe late January. So, it just sort of helps to clarify those big events, know where you're going, plan ahead, because the more planning you can put in place, the easier your life will be. So I don't know what's coming up. Are any of your clients doing anything like that, you guys?
I think, yeah, fall is a good time for an open house or challenge. Or at my studio, we used to do a September challenge, get people getting back, after summer vacay and all that kind of stuff. The other thing I would say, if you are planning some of these events, is that if you're really, we have a planning guide for a lot of these things that those of you have coachings, we have access to all types of planning guides. The other thing is, once you do it once, if you really document it and set it up, create an SOP for it, and whether it's just a Google Doc in, your Google Drive, or you set it up in Asana, if you're using Asana, then if you do the heavy lift once and get it all organized, then after that, you just have to, it's kind of rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Right. So if you have done some of these events before, that's another thing I just want to throw out there. As you do these things, make sure you're documenting them.
Well, yeah. And I know we do this as a team in the YC, but you do a little like huddle afterwards. Okay, what can we do better on the next one? That kind of thing. I have a client actually that he said they do WWW after an event. What went well? So you write that down, like, this is definitely what we need to do again. This was excellent, yes, yes, yes. And then they have an EBI, even better if. So they have a list of that. So a little like huddle after to, go through so you don't have to experience the same maybe, troubles or anything like that.
Right.
And the next time around, you can make it better the next round.
Right.
So
And what's the goal too? Did we achieve our goal?
yeah.
Right.
Always wanting to have a goal for,
Yeah.
what it is. Even if you don't know, pull one out of a hat. It's amazing if you set a goal, how often you'll hit that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Well, yeah, I like this like goal that's like forward thinking, but also doing like an audit of like how did that go, a postmortem. That's something that I never did with my studio because it was always like, oh my God, just on to the next and on to the next and on to the next. But like, yeah, having that actually built in to the process, and then after we look at how, what did we accomplish? What did we fail to accomplish? What did we learn? How can we do that better? What would we do different? Like,
I like that WWWEBI, yeah, what went well and what can we do even better, and the other thing that is an interesting thing, we do this in the YC, is if we could do this 10 times better, what would that look like?
Mhm.
Or if we only had, or actually it's more like, if we wanted to make 10 times more, what would that look like? And if we only could do it, spend 10 times less, what would that look like?
Hmm.
It's an interesting thought, right? What do we have to do? That's kind of looking towards just sort of getting out of and thinking things at a different level. As like, okay, we did this thing. If we wanted it to be 10 times better, what would we have to do? This took us all this time. If we just scaled it back, what could that look like? And what would the results of that be? Right. I remember back from years and years ago, I was really heavily involved with in my hometown with a volunteer organization. And they always did this big annual fundraiser. And so I kind of got into just sort of, running fundraisers and things like that, like big events. That's no different than running an event at your studio, right? And one of the things I remember, I was at a meeting, like just learning about fundraisers, and someone was talking about it. How do you judge the success of a fundraiser? Kind of thing. And this you could put towards your studio as well. They said, if you track the volunteer hours of what it takes to put on that fundraiser, and then, so you track the hours, and then you take whatever you made at that revenue and you divide that by the total hours, and you find out what did it cost per hour to put that fundraiser on. And if it's not at least what minimum wage is in your area, then is it really that effective?
Mhm.
So you could apply the same thing almost to anything you do. Like, how much effort did it take you to do this thing? How much did we bring in? Is the effort worth what we bring in? That could be an interesting thing to look at too. I don't know where I just pulled that one out of the hat, but it just came to me. But yeah, so that's another thing too, is when you're looking at do even better, and having that goal and judging it. It's like, okay, we brought in this much, whether it was new clients, whether it was revenue, and this is how much energy we expended to do that. Is it worth it? Or could we do something else that might do the same thing with less energy, less money? Carol, I saw you go.
Yeah, well, it's bringing up for me, for a long time, we just did things in the studio because it was just a good idea. We thought it'd be fun. And there wasn't a goal. There wasn't a real aim to bring in more people or increase revenue, or, it was more like, well, I think that's a good idea. Why, sure, we'll have that vendor come in, like,
Yeah.
but with no real purpose.
Mhm.
And when I really, really got clear on like, what is the reason that we're doing this, it helped
Yeah.
me save time and energy that I was expending on these other things,
Yeah.
and I still see some studio owners that I'm working with that are like, well, we're gonna do this. And I'm like, but why?
Right.
What is the point? So, and in the meantime, they're like stressed out because there's so much to do and da 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 da. It's like, well, you don't have to do this thing. It's not bringing in more business. I mean, you can do that, it's fine, but really evaluating from that standpoint, I think, can make a big shift for a studio owner.
Nina and I were at an on-site recently, and one of the things that we both noticed when we walked in is they had like a message board, which is great. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, holy shit. They had so many events. They had so many events, and it turned out that one of their staff members, that's the majority of their time was spent making posters and things like that for events. And it's almost like, the paradox of choice. When you have too many things going on, then they become less, it's like, there's too much, I don't know I don't know which one to go to, so I'm not going to go to any of them. So that's the other thing about having a strategy behind your events, is what purpose does it serve? Are you having an event to have an event? Then you shouldn't do it. If you can't define, what the purpose of this event is, then, and I guess should say, then why are you doing it?
Mhm.
And if you can say, well, I'm doing it because I feel this would be a great thing for retention. It's more of a retention thing. I'm not necessarily expecting to make money, but it's only going to cost me this, and it's going to help keep members engaged. Okay, that's a good reason. Because sometimes like doing a potluck, that's not going to bring you money in. But it could keep someone from canceling, which does help with retention. So, we talk about, what is it, Carol, the events? That's the attract event,
Sell,
sell, and
wow, and then refer.
and refer.
That's sort of the arc that you try to go with when you're doing your major event planning for the year. And you can cycle through those several times throughout the year. But that's sort of like how you get people on, you sell them something, you wow them, you keep them on and get them to bring their friends. And then it repeats, rinse and repeat.
So an attract event would be an open house.
Mhm.
A free yoga weekend, a free share the love. And then then the wow event would be
like a bingo, workshop series for beginners. Yeah, any kind of challenge. What else? There's lots of wow. I mean, even a potluck or something like that would be community based.
Shopping, shop night with, partner with Lululemon. They're easy. They give your members 25% off easy. And it's like a special shop night just for them.
Nice.
Unless you're selling retail, then I wouldn't do that. That would be, you don't want to bring Lululemon in. Then, okay, here's the thing. If you do sell a lot if you do have a robust retail, you could have something like that. Contact your vendors and say, hey, I'm having this event. Can you help me with it? And then maybe they'd be willing to give you, like, maybe, I'm going to place a big order. Maybe you can get an extra discount, or maybe you can get like additional terms, or maybe you could get some free merch from them or something like that. Or maybe they'd be, they'd be willing to give you like a little money to help with advertising. So one event that I did, I guess it was a sell event, because I did do so much retail, I separated that. When I first took over my studio, I would do like a retail sale, a retail event on Thanksgiving weekend while I was doing like all the Black Friday stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I realized that was like way too much to do. So what I did is I did a retail boutique day, right? Where I was normally not open. I didn't have class Saturday afternoon, and we were pretty much done by like noon. So then what I did is a retail boutique from like 12 to 4 on like early in the month of December, after Thanksgiving, early in the month. And I beefed up my retail. I offered gift wrapping.
I was going to ask you, did you ever do gift baskets, like bundles?
I did not really. What I did was kind of, I guess I could say I could kind of did create your own bundle. What I did was like, if you buy, $100, you got this discount. If you bought 100, and then if you bought over 200, so it's like if they bought over $200, they got the best discount. So then that kind of could be considered a bundle.
Yeah.
And then like the gift wrapping, people love that. And it was simple. I got the bags with my logo on it. And then I got red and white. I got red and blue tissue, because I did have quite a large Jewish community. So for Hanukkah, right? And then I even had like a Santa's list. The second year I came up with a Santa's list that people could fill out and give to somebody, because I would have people come in, here's the list. Right. And then I would have cookies, and I would have hot apple cider. It was huge. People loved it. And it really didn't cost me in terms of money that much. But in one afternoon, I could be bringing 3-4 grand in one afternoon. It was amazing. It was super fun. Yeah. Anyway, that's one thing you can do.
Yeah.
So one thing that kind of goes into something that came up on call for me this week, it kind of goes into what looking ahead to the fall is, and if you are doing like an open house or whatever it is intro offers. When is it okay to change your intro? When do you change your intro offer? Do I need to change my intro offer? The answer is yes, maybe no. Here's the thing with an intro offer. It's kind of like a drop-in. A drop-in's a drop-in. An intro offer is an intro offer. It's a way to get people in the studio. Ideally, they buy it once. So it is okay to change your intro offer. You do not have to do the same intro offer forever in a day. Now you might change it, and you can also change the price of your intro offer and talk about that too, but completely changing it. Like if you're doing a regular, a month, do you maybe go to something less? If you're on not a direct to membership, do you maybe try direct to membership? Right? And here, when would you change your intro offer? Anybody?
I think it's one of those things like, what's the why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not changing it just to change it.
Right.
What are we solving for? And that would be the first place. Yeah. And the short answer is, of course you can change it.
Yeah.
But why?
Why?
What's the why? Carol, you get to say, you came off.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking, if you've done you've optimized your pricing and you've done your sales training, and for some reason the intro still isn't selling the way you want, I think it might be, maybe it's the length of the intro, maybe it's the price. Like that's when I would deep dive into really thinking about changing it. And then of course we leave it that way for a little while, just to see if the number changes, right? So if you're looking at your numbers, you just want to be very I don't know, intelligent about it, and like look at the numbers to know, like Nina said, why, and then is it helping?
Absolutely. First and foremost, yes, it is absolutely fine to change your intro offer if you're not feeling you're getting the results. But to Nina's point, you got to see what are the results, which means you have to be tracking your KPIs. You have to be tracking what percentage of people that are coming in the door are actually buying my intro, and then are they converting or are they buying the next thing, for sure. And if those are really good, then sort of like, don't mess with it. But if that's not happening, and then again, if you are going to change it and try something new, you do have to give it time to work. You can't try it for a month and so this isn't working, right? You need to give it at least 3, 4, 5 months to see how it's going to affect. Now, one thing, and why it came up this week, is this particular client, their organic visits have just tanked. They're not getting a lot of people even in the door. This is a studio that's been around a while, and they were doing, and it's just, we're going to be diving into why that's happening. So in this case, it's like, and they're a direct to membership, and its first month is very reasonable. It's $49. So that's it's a very reasonable first month. However, they're just not even getting people in the door. So maybe that's the time to come up with something completely different to get, like, maybe that's not just enticing enough, right? So that could be a reason to look at changing your intro off. If all of a sudden you're just not getting the people in, because that's the thing that you're promoting. That's the thing that's eyeballs on your website. That's when people search, yoga near me, and you pop up, is for whatever reason, people aren't clicking to buy. So then that could be time to come up with something completely different. Right. And then for those of you that have, who are listening to this, if you have a paid subscription with the YC, a couple of years ago, God, it might even have been 2021. I can't even think that I did a webinar on intro offers. So if you do have a paid subscription, you go back into the resources and look, and I talk about different intro offers and what's good for what's different situations. So the one thing about doing free or a free week is you really have to have your team trained, right?
Absolutely.
They have to be trained to say, hey, what most people do, we know you came in free. That's awesome. Now the next thing is to do this. Because if you don't have that in place, then it's just you're going to get people, it's just going to be they're going to come in and they're going to drain out the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's the thing too, is that when you change your intro offer, you got to make sure your team can sell it. And then also, this is why it's like, if you're looking at it thinking you want to do something like this, fall would be a time to do it, because it's not like you can decide today, okay, I'm going to change my intro offer to this. You have to go look at your marketing funnels and your automations and your pricing and your website and and retrain the team. So it can take, a bit of planning to get that in place. And don't let that be, don't let that scare you. It can be fun too. I want somebody to go to just a week. You know, I think if I had a studio today, I think I would do a weekly membership.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have moved to that, you
Some
know.
For that, yeah.
How would you price that?
Well, it would depend on the market, obviously.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would maybe do like kind of like the first week, maybe even just do the first week the same as it is.
Uh-huh.
Like, let's say it's $39
Uh-huh.
first
It would-
week, and then it just keeps going. It's $39 a week.
Wow. How
Sign up anytime, cancel anytime. It's $39 a week. Bills every 7 days.
interesting.
Come on, come off.
That's
I don't,
You
it's,
know, a couple of studios that do that, you know, and it's
yeah.
really, especially whenever the student has self-cancellation, you know, and you're taking, because there are so many people hopping on and hopping off,
yeah.
it can be a really good solution.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you have, if you're gonna do something like that, you definitely have to have the ability to self-cancel.
Self-cancellate, baby.
Self-cancel, come on, come off. Then I
Right.
mean, your price can be really super easy.
Hmm.
It's
How many visits is that figuring for a week?
Well, if you still calculate on 2,
Mm-hmm.
I would still say, 2 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you price it at, $30
Hmm.
or 40, let's say 39 or 40, that's easy math. It's less than $20 per class.
Yeah.
The place I go to now, they bill weekly. And with tax, it's $37 because this is the other thing you guys should check into is that a lot of states are now requiring that you tax services. Ohio moved to that like 2 years ago, I think it is. So you have to pay sales tax on any type of.
That's interesting. Washington, a bunch of studios got together and fought and won because they tried to tax. They did tax the studios, and then a studio owner gathered a bunch of other studio owners, and the claim was that this is not a gym. This is not fitness. This is a place of can be considered a place of prayer and worship. Interesting, right? And they won. So I bring that up in my teacher trainings. Like, what is this practice?
I think they should be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just a personal bias. Hashtag Terry's dad.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about sales tax is it stays local.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's that the tax that your sales tax
Yeah.
is what stays within your community. So a portion goes to the state, which pays for state services, like if you live in an area that your roads have to be plowed,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we like
right?
roads.
And then a portion of it goes to your local municipality,
Right.
whatever
I
city
think
you're in.
what's interesting to me is that it brings up a question of what is yoga? And, do you think churches should be taxed also for that same?
Churches are nonprofits typically, and there's a different tax code, I believe. This is way out of my league for nonprofits, but churches aren't really selling anything.
Mhm. Well, that's arguable.
Well, I mean, it's like
That's another podcast.
that's another podcast. Yes, but churches aren't. You don't pay to go to services at a church, right?
The money is influencing things though outside of the church. So
right. Well,
you
might make the collection plate goes around and you make a
Right.
donation. That's a donation.
Yeah, like super simplifying, it's the idea of in this country, a place of worship is not taxed.
Right.
And so they fought for and won on that behalf, that yoga is a practice that is distinct and separate and different from fitness and gyms. And I just think that's fascinating. I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting.
It is interesting. It is very, very interesting. And it brings up anyway, oh God, we could go down to multiple rabbit holes on that. But anyway, so just going back to, so I pay weekly. And as long as at least if I even just go twice a week, I feel like, I got the value.
What a deal.
It's like, but 37, that's 3. It's like, $17 a class. I look at that. So, and most weeks I go more. Right. So that's why I just kind of going back to that whole weekly thing. I just think it's an interesting interesting concept.
Yeah, and it ends up being about industry standard for a monthly membership, like 150-ish.
Yeah.
Like I'm, between 99 and I mean some
Yep.
studios 185, but a lot, in my area are like around 150 is like
Yeah.
the low end.
And if you
So-
take whatever your monthly membership divided by 4.2, because there's 4.2 to 4.2, 4.3 weeks in a month, that gives you about where you could be on a weekly membership. The only reason I throw that out there is if you're struggling, if there's like, I'm not getting people on my monthly membership, I'm not getting people in the door. I mean, it's just one of those, okay, outside of the box, nobody else in the area is doing it.
Yeah.
This would be interesting.
Yeah. Wow. And do we have data on cancellations and retention?
I think it's about the same. I think
Hmm.
it's about the same.
That'd
I
be
don't know.
interesting. Like you're by the numbers.
Yeah.
Rated the direct to
Yeah,
member.
I don't think there's enough, at least within yoga, that are doing it.
Yeah.
See, I mean, obviously gyms do it a lot,
Right.
but,
Huh.
and I'm not advocating those of you out there, if you have a really robust membership, go out and pitch it over. I'm just saying, it's just an interesting concept.
It is.
If you're struggling to get people on, or even offering it, there was somebody that does have a monthly, here's the other thing. It's the other thing about having a weekly membership. You could still have a monthly membership. And the weekly membership could be priced just a little bit higher. So for some people, it might just be a cash flow thing. I'd rather pay once a week. So it's just a cash flow thing in terms of how I get paid, for my job. Then I'd rather have $39 a week coming out than $150 once a month or every 4 weeks. So sometimes it could just be based on a cash flow thing. And I think it is our client in California. I believe she does have, last time I looked at her website, she does have a monthly unlimited. That's one price. And then she has the weekly that is a little bit higher, but she leads with the weekly, which I thought is interesting, because if you maybe get there and this, hey, if you're really coming a lot, you really want to make a commitment, just go to the monthly, you save a little bit of money that way. Interesting. I don't know. But again, you don't have to always do the same thing. And the other thing is, maybe if the 4 weeks is, what is the sweet spot? What do you guys think is the sweet spot for yoga in terms? I get to ask this sometime. What's the sweet spot for how much time?
Wait, what's the question? I'm sorry.
The question is, so like, does it need to be 4 weeks? Maybe if you're doing a month, maybe you do 3 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
you mean on the intro?
On the intro, sorry.
The length of the intro. Okay.
Length of the intro. Yeah, I guess that was sort of a vague.
I experimented. I always had a month, first of all. And then in the last year or so of owning, maybe it was 2 years, I decided, with the urging of my manager, to cut it back to 3 weeks, because we figured the idea was, listen, by the 3rd week, they know.
Yeah.
They're either in or they're out. They're either coming a lot or they're not. And we've done the touch points. So we reduced it to 2 weeks, actually. And then I can't remember what happened next.
Yeah. I was always a month. Carol, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah.
We were always a month, but there was another studio out there I remember hearing that had like a 2-month intro. And it was because they felt like the longer we have to nurture this relationship from the very beginning, the more touch points we have, the possibility of them becoming a member is higher. I mean, that was sort of the philosophy. And I found it really interesting, because I feel like, yeah, they may think they know after a week or 2 weeks, but could we like prove to them, after a little bit more time, that this is really what, I don't know. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just remember that as another thought that I was like,
You just reminded me, there was a studio out in California in the North Bay, which is north of San Francisco, who did that. It was $99 for 2 months. And they did really well with it for that exactly what, as soon as you said that, Carol, I flashed on it for that.
It's probably the studio I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Is it what you might be thinking of the same
I think
studio?
so. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
And they did really well with it.
Yeah.
And then it
Mhm.
rolled into, after that, it just rolled into whatever their regular membership price was on a monthly basis. But that was their intro, 2 months for $99. So yeah, that's the other thing. Maybe you have a higher price point with a longer, what does it say? The higher the price, the longer the tail. Is that the, yeah, so the higher the price
Yeah.
point, sometimes the longer you have people, there's a perception of value there, because sometimes it's like, we talked about this a while back, the model of being like concierge stuff. It's like you're paying a premium for whatever, wherever you're going.
Mhm.
It's like intentionally pricing it at super high, so that then there's the whole, what do we talk about? The status portion of it. We talk about, people by status. And so it's like, oh, I belong to, ooh, they're really expensive kind of thing. So so that could be an interesting thing too, is have a longer intro. And okay, when should you raise, if let's just say everything's firing and doing good and your intro is working and converting, when do you raise the price of your intro?
Mhm. Right.
Do you raise the price of your intro? Can you? Of course you can.
Yeah.
You can.
I think
I
it
mean,
makes sense. Yeah.
go ahead.
If you're raising prices in general,
No, just raising your intro price.
right. And I think it makes sense if you are raising your prices, in general, then it does make sense to bring it up a bit. If you're raising your membership from 99 to
The other
140.
thought is raise your intro when your classes are full,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in that whole 70-70 rule, when your classes, 70% of your classes are 70% full, that can be a good time to raise it. So maybe you don't want so many new people coming in, or you want those people to be that you want it to be a more qualified lead, that they are going to stick around. So if you have a really cheap intro in the beginning, great, and classes are full, and and then as your membership builds, and now all of a sudden you have classes full with wait lists, all that kind of thing, it's like, oh, okay, now I can maybe raise my intro price, bump it up $20. You might not have as many people buying it, but that's another thing you can do. It's just like looking at where's the capacity in my studio at. If we're running up against that, okay, let's raise the price of the intro. So then those people on the trial, they're putting a little bit more up front. Maybe I'm not going to sell as many, but do I need to sell as many? Because yes, we always want to have new people coming in, because you're always going to have people canceling. But that also can be a strategy and conversely, if you're not at that 70-70, maybe you reduce your price. I had a conversation with a client. It's like, okay, you're not getting anybody in here. Very reluctant. I'm like, okay, would you rather have one member paying $149 or $39, I think it was, or two members paying $99? That can be another thing, is that if you have tons of space in your studio and you're not getting a lot, maybe you just bring it down for a while until you get, and then you raise it up. And just, I guess the moral of this tirade or this box is pricing can be fluid. And if you have a strategy behind it and you're not just changing it every other day, you can ebb and flow depending on the market, depending on where you're at in the business, depending on the volume in the studio, all of those things. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. You got to shift, depending on what's happening in your space. So you're steering the ship. I watched last week's You Make the Rules. This is a game and you make the rules.
This is-
On last week's roundup that came up.
I've been using that in
Yeah.
life coaching with, friends and colleagues. Like,
Yeah.
this whole thing is a game, you could say, and
Mhm.
we can set it up so we never lose. What about that?
I
Perfect.
like that. The Game of Thrones.
Well, maybe not that.
Maybe not that.
That's not great show though. Great show.
That's true. So anyway, yeah, okay, I think that's good. So think about it. What's your intro? Is it working for you? But first and foremost, you have to know if it's actually working for you. So what are your KPIs? And if you have a traditional intro offer where it's not a direct to membership, meaning they buy whatever the intro is, and then you're converting them into your membership, the goal for that, you should be at 70% for, so every 100 people that come through the door, 70% of them should be landing on your intro offer. And that includes people who, and remember that people who come through on a buddy pass, if you're not trying to sell them, convert them, why? And if they come in on a drop-in, are you converting? If you're not trying to convert them, then why? And if you have a lot of first-time people buying drop-ins that are local, then there's an issue. So you should be at 70%. If you're more direct to membership for the first month rolls in the second, minimum on that is 50%. Those are, if you're wondering how do I know if this is working or not? Those are two good indications right there.
Yeah.
And if your intro offer is free, you still, you still have to have, you still need to make it.
Yeah. So my thing is I'm in Miami, there's a million studios, and it's fascinating to be a consumer, a secret shopper. And I love to mix it up and try new studios. So I'm on a 2-week free intro. Have I received one touch point? Not one.
Not one. Interesting, not one. And when did you buy it?
Monday I'm almost at the end.
And you've got nothing.
Nothing.
Well, I can tell you how effective that is.
Yeah, I know. So don't do that.
Interesting. Not one email, not one text, not one phone call.
No.
That's sad.
And anyway, I don't want to talk too much shit, but the front desk is not trained well. So
well, that's probably why you haven't.
Well, that's exactly right. But one woman I called to figure out, I was like, I can't register. And she was like calling it mind and body. Well, that's a mind and body thing. I'm like, no, actually, it's not a mind and body thing. It's not a mind body thing. It's I'm like, can you just look me up? And she was like really short with me and annoyed with me. And I was like, no, okay. So,
well, that's funny. Just I was
with it.
I know the studio that my sister used to go to. I wanted to buy her a gift certificate for Christmas a couple of years ago. So I went in, and the person and they used my mind and body. She had no idea. It's Christmas time. They had no idea how to do a gift certificate. I said, well, and she said, well, you want to come around? So I literally went around the desk.
I love it. That's my dream come true. Just let me come around. I'll make the coffee.
I said, and she literally, I went around the desk.
I know.
I did my own gift certificate. I processed my own damn gift certificate. It was hysterical.
Did you do a Loom video also?
I should have done a Loom video and sent it to the owner. Actually saw it. It was absolutely hysterical.
Outrageous. Aw.
Yeah, and then another time I was at a studio that uses mind and mind body, and I asked about it was something about. Oh, I know what it was. It was like, I was asking if I can extend my class card or something like that. Mm-hmm. And because I just thought I asked. And the woman behind said, oh no, I'm sorry. The computer, we can't do that. Our system won't allow it. And I looked at her, I said, you use mind body? I said, well, yeah, you actually can. All you got to do is go into Client Pro. And she looked at me, she said, well, no, that's actually our policy. And I'm like, Well, then
Why
tell me that's your policy. Don't tell me
Oh,
that
wait.
I can't do because our system, our computer system won't let us do it. No, it's your policy.
Oh my gosh, I have another one. This is like customer service 101.
Yeah.
So same studio, I'm on the 2-week intro. I called, this was last Sunday, and I called, I was like right on the line. I knew I was going to be late. Anyway, so I called, I said, is there room in the class? Can you put me in it? And she goes, yeah, no problem. She registers me into the class, leaves out the 5-minute policy. I run there. I walk in 7 minutes. So I'm 2 minutes after, and sorry, we can't let you in. I said, what? I just called. And she goes, she was a brick wall. I'm sorry, that's her policy. And I said, but you didn't tell me that on the phone. Like, why didn't you tell me that? And she's just like, sorry, sorry, sorry. I was like, that sucks. It was my only time to practice. I raced over there, you know what I mean? It got parking, got the paid for parking. Then here's the kicker. I got a freaking
No show fee?
show email saying that they were going to charge me. Well, they didn't because they don't have my card on file. But that was a kicker. I'm like, this is just, anyway, they're blowing it.
Bad customer service. Yeah. Bad customer
Anyway,
service.
train your front desk.
Train your front desk, get your system set up
Systems.
with the software, know what it can do, what it can't do. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a policy, that's fine. Just communicate it.
Right.
You make up your policies. Absolutely. What irritated me about my situation and kind of similar to yours is that they said, oh, our system doesn't allow it. And I said, well, yeah, actually it does. Oh, well, it's just our policy. Well, just say that's our policy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, we don't extend class cards. Okay. That's the policy. That's the policy. So, speaking of like policies.
Yeah.
So Nina, share with us a little bit about a situation you came across with one of your clients that's just so sad.
Yeah. Well, I have a wonderful client who bought her studio, and the former owner is leading a teacher training. And the former owner put together a contract, which was signed by my client already. And she sent it over to me. So they've been having a really hard time getting people to sign up for this training. I think they have 2 people or no people. I'm confusing it with another studio, but I think they have no people actually signed up. And they've been making announcements and, to having the teachers tap people in the shoulder and that she's already spent, I think, $1,000 on ads, and, she's really doing a lot. So she sends me the contract, and it says that she'll pay whatever the split is. I think it's like 60-40, or it's actually 70-30, or a minimum of $20,000.
Whichever is greater.
And so I saw that and I said, does that preclude signups? I mean, is this flat rate, meaning no matter what happens, you have to pay her $20,000? Well, the short answer, yes, that's exactly what the contract states. And so we talked about like some different strategies, and maybe she just have a conversation. And also the former owner who's leading the training has been very not really, not working very hard to get anyone signed up either.
Pretty
shitty. So I said, well, why don't you, what would it be like to have a conversation and just let her know, hey, this is what we've got, and it's in September, this training is to begin. This is what we're doing. This is what I've spent. I'm noticing this in this section. Is this what I understand? Is this, and even just asking the question, the former owner was outraged and very offended, and I guess ripped her a new one and said, you've agreed to this, and I never had trouble with people, signing people up for my teacher training, and that you would even suggest not to pay me is outrageous. I mean, she was wildly offended. it seemed more so than like the punishment doesn't fit the crime, sort of like very defensive. And
Yeah.
defensive on the offense. So the, I mean, it's what's done is done. However, I did encourage her to reach out to our guy, Conscious Corey of Conscious Counsel,
Mhm.
to just have a look at the contract and see if there's any room for interpretation, or like what
What
and
what next steps could
what
potentially
next
be?
steps, and is this woman gonna sue her? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's such a sad situation.
But we know now that anytime you have contracts or agreements, it's so worth the little bit of money upfront to save yourself this sort of headache down the road, and that you really read it thoroughly and understand it.
Yeah, and if you don't it kind of goes to what, coming full circle on this too, is there's been a couple of instances lately and these pop up, they seem to come in groups, is like, does anybody have an example of a teacher contract or this contract or that contract?
Yeah.
Or a waiver contract or whatever? And yeah, we all do. And it's better to have a legal document. We always say it is better to have a legal document that is that has been prepared specifically for your business in your organization. Because remember, it's your business on the line.
Right.
Right. And then also if you're,
I got this from the studio down the street.
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter.
And then if you're asked to sign a contract, to have an attorney review it for you. If you don't understand it, if there's anything ambiguous in it, if you don't agree to something, that, I know lawyers get a really bad rap, but that's what lawyers do. It's like they protect your interests. And we do. Corey Sterling is our go-to lawyer, Conscious Counsel. He did all my docs. He does all the docs for the YC as an organization. Like our contracts that we sign with Josh are all done by Corey, all the agreements and everything. So it's I like to think of legal documents and paying a lawyer to do them. It's like insurance. You hope you never have to file an insurance claim. You pay the premiums and all that stuff, and you just hope that you never actually have to use it. But
Yeah.
when you need it, oh my gosh, thank goodness you have it, right?
I just had that. I've never had to use my
Oh yeah, the car accident thing.
Yeah, that was amazing. I tapped a guy's, and it was my fault. But anyway, it was all my fault. And we exchanged contact, and he got a bid, and he wanted me to pay was like almost like $10,000 to, how these expensive cars are. And I was like, oh my God, no, let's go through insurance. And then he just like wouldn't stop contact because the insurance was lowballing him. But anyway, I'm like, oh, insurance. And they cut me a check and they cut him a check. And I'm like, this is brilliant. That's what insurance is for. I've never used it. And how long have I been a driver? Not 40 years.
Yeah.
A long time, 35 years.
So I've been in 2 car accidents, each time my car has been totaled. The second time it was my fault and they sued me.
Yeah.
And and that's what insurance is for. And what was interesting, they sued me for just under what, my policies, the maximum it would pay. That's what they sued me for. It's like, anyway, but it's just like, that's what insurance is for. So kind of circling back, that's what legal documents are. They're insurance for your business. They're legal insurance.
Right.
And they are worth their weight in gold. And I like to say this, if you're using, I told this to Corey and he just about died, is using downloaded documents or AI documents now, or somebody else's document, is like having unprotected sex in a one-night stand. You never know what you're going to catch.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Don't do it, folks.
Don't do it. It's like, you don't want to do it, right? So, but yeah, although saying AI, this was, because AI has just like totally changed the landscape of so many things. I have a client who has a contract. She's looking to buy, anyway, it's a contract. And it was, all the legalese kind of stuff. So what she did, which I thought was brilliant, is she copied the document and put it into ChatGPT and said, make this simple. And then, so made the language simpler so that she could actually understand it a little bit better. So I thought that was a brilliant use of ChatGPT. She still then went to her attorney, but then at least she had a better understanding of it. Right. So that was, I thought, a brilliant use of using ChatGPT for that reason only. But yeah, so it's just moral of the story is if you're just make sure you review documents. If you're not sure, ask questions, have a lawyer review it, and just make sure you're doing what's in the best interest for you and your business.
Mhm.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I feel for that person. It's going to be tough. But if anybody can make something happen, it can be Corey. Yeah. Anyway, anything else? It's good.
I have another client doing her first teacher training with, have you heard of this? This is, oh, did I close the tab? Aritreon. So it's actually a franchise. They have multiple studio locations, but they also offer a teacher training, a virtual teacher training pack. And
Oh, yeah, it's the one is that the one, where are they out of?
acronym. Well, they've got multiple locations in all over the place. But this teacher training piece is really interesting. They need a little help with their website, so it's easier to see. But it's an acronym for the training, the teacher training.
I think that's the one we had them do a webinar for us.
Really?
Yeah.
So they sell you, I mean, I'm curious, I really want to
If
see.
it's the one, if you can find it or shoot it to me, I can tell you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll bring it over. So the teacher training, so they sell you the teacher training, all the curriculum, and it's really reasonably priced.
Mhm.
Like for this client, she only needs 2 people for it to be profitable. So I think it's like $2,000.
Oh, yeah.
Is this, you know them?
I
It's
think this is it.
$2,000 for the curriculum, and then for each person who signs up, you pay $500. And so for this client who's never led a teacher training, and she's an accomplished teacher, but there's sort of that like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's you do know what you're doing, but you just feel like you have imposter syndrome. I was there too. And so anyway, so they provide the curriculum, you deliver the training. It's virtual in their model. It's a virtual teacher training with a final weekend in-person immersion.
Yep. Yep.
And,
yep. These are so Nora, yeah, we know Nora. So again, she did a webinar. If you go into the YC, that if you have a paid subscription, yeah, Nora. So yeah, basically that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's really,
it's fascinating. And she does have some, last time I chatted with her, which is a while ago, I should check in with her, is they have almost all of the Bikram postures. So you could even do a 26 and 2. I said, man, if you could just get the rest of these done, then you could, because it's so hard right now with 26 and 2 trainings. But yes, I know exactly who these people are.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if anybody has done it in the YC, so it'll be interesting to see how your client, how it works. Yeah. But I thought it was a really brilliant model because you pay an annual fee, they get and then you only need like a couple of people to make it and to be profitable.
The price point is super.
The price point is super, makes it very accessible. And if you do, you can do them starting throughout the year. And then you don't need a ton of people, but yet you have a way to get teachers in at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
All right, team. Well, it was great to be back. It was weird not to do the round. I was doing, both Carol and I were away last week, and Carol was away at the beach, but I was just doing a staycation. So I almost was going to jump on, but then I thought, no, I committed to myself to just completely unplug last week.
Tell our clients you have to take time off. Away.
Yep, it was. And Sunday I'm doing what's called Muddy Princess. It's like, if you think of like a Spartan race or a, or a Tough Mudder, but it's just for women.
Oh, cool.
It is called Muddy Princess. And it's a 5K, and then they have the obstacles and stuff. And I'm doing it with a group of women from the place I go. And you can wear like tutus, and you're supposed to let all dressed up like, and of course you get muddy and stuff like that. But I'm doing that on Sunday, so that should be super fun. So I'm sure I'll get some pictures. I'll post them for you guys to see. But yeah, I'm doing a Muddy Princess
How cute. Yeah. Let me see you in your tutu.
in my tutu. All right, team.
I have to go teach a class.
All right, go teach your class. I've got a call. Carol, have a great rest of the day as always.
Good to see you both.
Good to see you.
Don't forget, if you want help with planning for 2025, we do still have spots available at the summit in November. I do believe we're completely sold out on site, although there is I do believe one room left, but you can also do the off-site version. And we started working on the manager track, which is going to be super fun. So if you want to bring your manager, or super, not just fun, but very informative. So all the details are in the YC. If you have any questions, just reach out. We'd love to see you there. And yeah, if you want to have, like Carol said, the attract, the wow, all of that, you want your plan done for 2025, come to the summit.
See you there.
That's right.
See you there. Be there and be square. Go do some yoga.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.